yeah, that sounds good.
What's going on? We got how many people do we have? We have 13 people. Is there more people that I have to let in? Oh, here we go. And guys, don't worry about having a bad hair day. I'm having a bad hair life, so so don't be stressed. All good. All right, looks like we got most people, and then as more people join, I'll let them in. Izzy, you want to kick it off?
Yeah, sounds good. Well, first of all, thank you, everyone. Thank you to our members that are here, and for being willing to come and learn from one of our speakers. This is going to be our first mentor hour, part of our LBSA speaker series with Sherjan here, who has a lot of experience in terms of finance and just professional life, and has a lot to share. So I'm excited for him to give some advice, and I'm sure be willing to kind of serve as a resource for everybody. So I'm excited to hear what he has to share, and yeah, take it away.
Thanks, Izzy. Appreciate it. Hey guys, my name is Sherjan, dialing in from Toronto. So I used to live in LA. I went to the second best school in LA called UCLA, as some of you would call it. But having said that, I've been coaching students for the last 10 years. So I'll give you a quick background about myself. I don't want this mentorship hour to me just talking. It's going to be a small group of us. So I want you guys to engage as much as you can. All questions are fair game. I don't want you to hold anything back. Anything that's on your mind that you are struggling with and you think you want to ask me, please feel free to do. That's one of the benefits of these things. And I like to be as candid and as unfiltered as possible. So my background is I was a vice president, associate, and analyst in investment banking at Morgan Stanley. And then I also was an investor at Google in their investment arm called Capital G. I worked in San Francisco, I worked in LA, I've worked in Hong Kong and Singapore. Ethnically, I'm Pakistani, and I was an international student from Canada when I went to school at UCLA. So a lot of the things, that I just said seem like, tough companies to work into, break into, all that stuff. I get that. But let me give you guys another set of facts. I had a low GPA, 3.0, which is not a good GPA. 4.0 is a better GPA, obviously. The 3.0 GPA is a tough GPA, and most of these firms will not hire you with such a low GPA. I was an international student, like I mentioned. I was a non-target student from, not a cool university like USC. I was going to University of Toronto in Canada. And then at the same time, I had never studied business, wanted to be an investment banker, wanted to be an investor, but never studied business. I studied aerospace engineering as an undergrad. So the point of mentioning those other facts is, look, a lot of us face these bottlenecks, these headwinds, and you may not face all of them. You may face all of them, but I don't want you to lose, your dream, your aim for your dream job and, working towards it just because you have those things. I think there's a way to get to them. That's what I have done. And that's what I teach students for the last 10 years. And it may not come today. It may not come tomorrow. You may not get to that dream job tonight, but it may take some time, but you need to be long-term greedy about it. So 10 years ago, I started coaching students, started teaching students in a workshop format, motivating students. And over the last 10 years, I've taught about 20,000 of them. And now, obviously, I've also converted to Zoom with the time, and I've been coaching students in this format. So today, I want you guys to learn as much as possible. The thing that, Izzy and I discussed was, as students who are part of the LBSA, you guys, go through these networking sessions and info sessions and those kinds of things, which obviously are not going to, exist anymore for the, foreseeable future. What's next? And it's always hard to kind of navigate yourself from there and see how can you ultimately get that job. So what I've designed today and prep for today is I want to give you guys some tips about, not just tips, like actionable things that I think you should be doing, and how you can kind of, take your brand, put it on the right, put it in front of the right eyeballs, and hopefully be successful. So the first thing I want to kind of touch upon is, yes, we are going through a pandemic. Yes, it's a recession, right? So I graduated in 2009. It was another recession. It was much easier than this because there was no pandemic, right? But having said that, you're facing something similar. There's less business activity in the world. That means there's less work to be done. When there's less work to be done, companies are hiring just fewer folks, right? So knowing that is important, but dwelling on that is not a good thing. So what I want you guys to do, first thing is, especially as being minorities, we're all minorities in here, right? Being a minority is I want you to just acknowledge the fact that, hey, stuff's gonna be tough. That's reality, but I'm going to move beyond it, and I'm going to do what I can to figure out what I need to do to get to my dream job, right? So that's one thing I want you to do. So that's number one. No more like, hey, companies are not hiring because of XYZ reason. There's less jobs for people like me, da, da, da. I get that, but we're going to just move beyond it and do what we can. So that's where I want you to, put a pin in that and move forward. Next thing, what I want you to do is understand the fact that info sessions, these kind of things that used to happen, those are not the reasons why people get hired, right? Historically speaking, why info sessions exist and all that stuff is because, companies would bring these employers in, companies have a relationship with these employers, but employers aren't really deciding on which one of these candidates in this info session is the one we need to hire. But ultimately what happens as school sizes become bigger and bigger, you have 50 people, 100 people trying to like get attention of that managing director from, PwC or Goldman Sachs or whatever, to be like, hey, I'm really smart, I'm really cool, check out my resume, or here's a smart question I want to ask you. Those things, info sessions are not the place where you can actually win someone, right? So now, because info sessions aren't happening, I think it's a good thing. The reason it's a good thing is now it becomes something that you have to put in your own core to figure out how to get that ultimate job. And I'm going to teach you guys a few things that you guys can do. So the first thing I want you guys to figure out and do is forget about the past, forget about the info sessions not happening. We're going to take things in our own control. And we'll start by doing something called taking care of your brand. Now, you guys are very young right now, but in the future, you will become a brand. Right now, you guys are in brand chasing mode, which is good, right? You're trying to get a job at Deloitte, PwC, McKinsey, Goldman, Google, whatever. You're trying to get that credibility. When you fast forward the story, 8, 9, 10 years, you will need to become a brand yourself, right? Elon Musk, for example, is a brand himself. Now, obviously, he's very senior. He's built a brand for various other reasons. Steve Jobs is a brand by himself, right? Bill Gates is a brand by himself. People, will become a brand over time. Now, when you think about that in the future, that, hey, I want to be a brand. So I see names like, for example, Brenda, Rashida, Benjamin, Sabrina, all of you will become a brand one day. But today you need to start taking that brand building of yourself seriously. What that means is this. First thing I want you to think about is this. When you think about like Nike store, for example, or Nike as a brand, if you look at Nike, if you go to their store, or you meet an employee of Nike or see their Instagram page or their YouTube channel or any commercial, it basically yells Nike. Anywhere where you look at Nike, it says Nike and it feels Nike, it believes Nike, and just, gives you that image of Nike. That's how I want you to also be. What that means is you have access to multiple channels right now, right? LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, to name a few. Those channels are channels, even YouTube, those channels are channels where you can put your brand right now for employers, people you network with, people you cold email with to search. So think about it this way. If you send a cold email out to someone after an info session, what are they going to do? They're going to search you on Google. They're going to search you on LinkedIn. They're going to search you on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all those places. Right now, you have all the time to build all of those platforms, all of those media channels to represent the best version of you. Now, that doesn't mean you go take a photo wearing a suit in all of your, photos and on Facebook and Instagram. No, what that means is you need to build unique, authentic branding of yourself across all of them. So for example, let's say you're an amazing snowboarder, or let's say you love breakdancing, or let's say you have a Shopify store and you're so passionate about small business, or it could be anything else, whatever you're passionate about. Build it across all of those channels. So start with LinkedIn, for example. If you don't know how to build a great LinkedIn, look at my LinkedIn, search me up on LinkedIn, see how I have, put my LinkedIn around, how I've, done color coding, my background, my photo, all the descriptions of my jobs, all the certification. Make sure your LinkedIn profile is awesome. But LinkedIn is, it's table stakes. You also have access to Facebook and Instagram, and employers will search you there. So don't let that space go to waste. Don't block your Facebook, don't block your Instagram, don't block your Twitter and make it private. Use that space to showcase things that you wouldn't be able to showcase in otherwise, right? Historically, we would always interview in person, but now everything is going to be online, right? It's all going to be online. So people are only going to access you from literally this computer. So take that advantage, build a great Instagram, right? Showcase your best things there, build a great Facebook, build a great Twitter. Similarly, let's say you're passionate about something, a sector. Let's just say you want to get into accounting. Why wait? And in terms of getting into accounting, why not start writing some stuff about it? So let's say you have some inside knowledge about a certain sector in accounting, right? Start writing small, newsletters or Medium articles about why you think accounting is a certain way. Or maybe you're passionate about something else. Start writing about it, spreading your brand on the internet. So start doing more and more of that. So if you search me, for example, you'll see that I have my brand across all platforms, regardless of any new platform that comes up. I try to go on it. So for example, Medium, you can write articles on it. If you're passionate about something, go write some Medium articles. So do all those things. One other thing that you can do with branding is search yourself on Google, right? The first thing people are going to do when they see your resume or see your candidacy, they're going to search you on Google. And you got to make sure all the articles that are coming up about you or links that are coming, if they come up, you may not, show up, but if they do, make sure they're good, right? I have a student of mine who was expelled from university for the wrong reasons. University had to reinstate him, but there was a couple of articles about him from his past that always popped up on his Google search history. Obviously, that's not going to be a cool thing when a recruiter or someone who wants to hire you sees that. So that's number one on branding. Number two on branding is your resume, right? Everybody has a resume, but I can guarantee you 99% of resumes, and I've seen thousands, like I told you, I've taught 20,000 students in the last 10 years. I can guarantee 99% of resumes are just poor. They're just not good, right? Why? People don't take them seriously. A resume is the most important document you can have. And think about it this way. It's a document, it's a living document. Why? Because every 3 months, every 6 months, when you get some experience, and experience doesn't mean getting a job. Experience means I joined a new club on campus. I, participated in a case study competition. I did something in life. That needs to end up on your one-pager resume, right? So first of all, it's a living document. The second thing is your resume represents you in front of people when you're not there, right? So that one-pager has to sell you and showcase the best abilities and whatever you do in front of all these other people. So you can't take that document lightly. So Izzy, I'll share a link to my resume course. It's a free course you guys should all take. It's a 90-minute class. That's going to help you build an amazing resume. At least that's going to help you fix that brand. So don't take your resume lightly. Spend this next few days building your resume and make sure you have that handy. Last piece on the branding piece that you need to do is, especially in this new post-COVID environment where everything's going to be online, you need to have an amazing Zoom environment, right? Now, what does that mean? Back in the day, you could wear a nice suit and look clean and professional to impress an employer. You can't do that anymore. You'll have to impress people when they're actually looking at you through that lens, right? So start with having a clean background. You can't have your bedroom in the back. You can't have your, dog walking by or dad and mom walking by. You need to make it look clean and professional. That's number one. Number two, what I want you to do, I want you to face a window. Good lighting is going to make you look better, right? These little things matter, especially in this new world, because remember, the competition is too high. There's less jobs, there's more candidates, right? That's just what a recession and a pandemic does. So the chances of getting a job are super, super low. Chance of getting noticed is super, super low. So you don't want to take any chance in reducing your chances. Anything that is in your control, I want you to crush that. So that's number two. Number three, if you have the option, let's say you may have it at home, or you may be able to buy a nicer webcam from Best Buy or something like that, invest in that. Because right now, look at this, right? This is my professional setup, and obviously I run a business and stuff, so that's different. But look at this is my professional setup. If I switch to my MacBook camera, it switches to this, right? It's a totally different view. It looks like everybody else's. So what I want you to do is take these little things seriously, because these are in your control, right? These are in your control, and you want to make sure you're not taking those lightly. Finally, I want you guys to do two more things. Take 2 sticky notes. On one sticky note, I want you to write smile and put it on the left side of the lens, because smiling is the most important thing when you meet people. People don't hire people based on their technical knowledge. People don't hire people based on like how smart are you. They know you're smart. You guys are at USC, right? You have to be smart to be at USC. So everybody knows you can do the job. But they want to know, are you a happy person? Are you someone that I would enjoy spending 18 hours a day with, right? Are you someone that I would be okay getting stuck at an airport with, right? Are you someone that I can trust and I feel you have good vibes? Those good vibes all come from a smile. So make sure you smile and put that sticky note, because it'll remind you to smile as you interview with people. Number two, I want you to put another sticky note, and on it, write an arrow pointing towards the lens. Most people, when they do Zoom, they look in the screen, and that's fine for you. But remember, this show is for the person on the other side. You got to look in the lens. Don't look in the screen. Look in the lens, and that arrow is going to remind you to do that. All right, so that's branding. Make sure those are stuff that I need you to take care of. And this is before we've even, gotten in front of anybody. Now we're going to spread the brand, right? Spreading the brand means networking, right? You guys are one of the top schools in the world. Not only one of the top schools in the world, I have enough friends from USC who are proud Trojans, who are proud USC folks. And USC has one of the most proud alumni, network. Probably the best in the world, in my opinion. I think more people are proud of going to USC than they are of going to Harvard Business School or Harvard. It's just how it is. It's ingrained in you guys. So you guys will have one of the best networks. You need to get access to that network. Most people are going to historically rely on these info sessions and LinkedIn and all that stuff. That's not helpful. Go get access to your alumni directory. Why? Those are the people that have been in your shoes. They're just like you, just a few years older than you, right? They've been there. You need to start cold emailing them. When I went to UCLA, all I did every day was I would find 5 to 10 emails of people who had went to UCLA 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20, 30 years ago, I didn't care when, who were in industries that I was passionate about. And every day I would cold email them. I would get my brand out of my room into their inboxes. And cold email is one of the best ways to do it. Imagine cold emailing is like, finding someone's personal phone number. That's how amazing it is. You want to work at PwC and you want to reach out to, Jenny Chen, jenny.chen@pwc.com. That's probably her email. If not that, jchen@pwc.com, right? Cold email 5 people every day. Make it a goal of yours. Short emails, 4 to 5 lines, and send them out every day with your resume. And these emails are, very direct. Hey, Jenny, my name is Steve. I'm a USC junior studying accounting and really, passionate about, joining accounting and doing an internship in there. I know you're extremely busy. I found your contact information from the USC alumni directory, but would love to chat with you if you have a few minutes. My resume is attached. Would love to hear back from you. That's it. Send that every day. Doesn't matter how senior that person is, how junior that person is. Don't worry about it. Send to everybody. And don't just focus on the big 4. Like I know, Izzy, you mentioned that, folks are here interested in the big 4. Spread your net a lot wider. There's a lot more accounting firms in the big 4. There's a lot more consulting firms in the big 3. There's a lot more investment banks than Goldman Sachs. Especially given the pandemic, given, what's happening. Unfortunately, we don't have the, the benefit of the luxury of, interviewing for places that we really want to work at. But if you do get interviews in places or, access to places that are not tier 1, but tier 2 or tier 3 or tier 4, that's totally fine. At least you learn, you build your network, and if you get an opportunity, you join it. Career is gonna be long. You may start at a tier 4 shop, and then you can switch to tier 1 shop in the future. Look at my career. I started at a no-name shop at UCLA when I did a summer internship there, unpaid internship. This company didn't even have a name, to be honest with you. It was a very, very small company, finance company. Then I got my offer at Houlihan Lokey, a middle market bank, not the top middle market bank, mediocre middle market bank, but good bank. Then I transitioned to Morgan Stanley, right? Then I moved to Google. So career is going to be long and all that stuff. And you need to have your eye on the ball for being in the long-term game, not the short-term game. So you need to send those emails out. Now, 90%, 99% of emails that you'll send out will get rejected. Nobody's going to reply to them. It's just how it is. It's a numbers game. But wait 2 or 3 days, 4 days, and send a second email, a follow-up email saying, hey, Jenny, reached out to you a couple of days ago. Understand you're extremely busy, especially with the pandemic and all. Would love 5 minutes of your time. Just want to learn a few things and put my name, put myself on your radar, and send that. I can guarantee you will, increase the conversion of those emails by a lot. Now what you're doing is you're spreading your brand, you're getting in front of as many people as possible, getting in their inboxes. And remember, most of your competition doesn't do this. Most of your competition waits for the info session, right? They wait for those things. You're not. You're putting yourself out there. So that's branding, and that's spreading your brand. Final piece, you got to prepare, right? Right now you have time on your side. There's no interviews lined up, but there will be interviews lined up because you're going to be emailing 5 people a day. And by the way, on that email part, don't just stop in the US alone. Be open-minded across the world. When I was at UCLA, I would email people in investment banking in Tokyo, in Singapore, in Sydney. I remember one of the Tokyo UCLA alumni replied to me and said, Sherjan, do you even speak Japanese? I'm like, no. He's like, okay, let's chat, but you can't really work in Japan because you don't speak the language. I'm like, totally fine. Just want to learn from you a little bit. Just put my name on the radar. And when we chatted, he liked me and he's like, okay, let me connect you with my friends at Goldman in New York. So spread your net as wide as possible because that's the only way. It's a numbers game. I'll give you some numbers so you guys understand. Harvard Business School gets 10,000 applicants a year, acceptance rate of less than 10%. And that's what's considered hard if you think about it. Everybody's like, oh my God, he or she got into HBS. Goldman Sachs, for example, 250,000 applicants a year, acceptance rate of less than 3%, right? Then Google, for example, just giving you some numbers, 3 million applicants a year, acceptance rate of less than 0.3%, right? So similar to Goldman and stuff, I'm sure PwC, Deloitte, if that's what you guys are interested in, it's going to be tough. it's a massive numbers game. So you can't just say, I'm just going to reach out to folks in New York, San Francisco, LA. No, you got to interview across the board. If, for example, your chances may be higher somewhere in a smaller town, in a city where other people are not applying, let's just say Austin or Houston or some of the other places, maybe Florida, go for it, right? There's accountants everywhere. Don't just focus and put all your eggs in the New York, LA, and SF opportunities. All right. So on the fourth part, which is preparation, one of the mistakes people make is they put too much effort into technical training. They'll go learn everything they want about accounting. They'll learn everything they want, they can about case studies. They'll learn whatever industry they're going into. They'll spend hours and hours studying that because they want to get great at the technical side of the job. But what use is learning technical knowledge when you can't even get the job? Technical knowledge is great because it helps you do the job, but your first goal has to be to get the job. So don't spend so much effort learning technical stuff. A lot of the firms that I know, especially with some of the big four, they don't ask you that many complex technical questions. Because remember, for them, what matters is the person they're hiring. They know you're already smart. They know you can use Excel. If you don't know some sort of analysis, they'll teach you in the first month, right? What they care about more is your personality, your vibe, how interesting you are, what have you done, all those things. So instead of spending 90% of your time on technical, you should spend 10% of your time or 20% of your time learning the basics of accounting, being really good at the basics and the fundamentals, and then spending the other 80% on things that are related to the behavioral side. Your story. Why do you want to do accounting? Why do you want to work at this firm? Tell me about why we shouldn't hire you. What are your weaknesses? What are your strengths? Get as many mock interviews done. Find 5 of your friends and be like, hey, I want to do a mock interview with you every weekend, right? Do that. Become so good at selling your story that someone who's hiring you or interviewing you is like, my God, this person's amazing. Build that tact, be tactful about that. So that's what you can do right now. Now, if you do those things, right, that's what's going to get you to the interview. That's what's going to give you a great brand when someone sees it. That's hopefully going to get the interview. Then when you get in the interview, you're better prepared than anybody else. And then you hopefully get an opportunity. So let me pause there. I know I've said a lot. I want to kind of open up the floor as well so folks can ask questions and we can then fill up any holes that folks have in terms of things that I talked about. I know there's one question already. Oh, that's my LinkedIn. Okay, got it. Cool. Thanks, Didi.
No problem.
All right, so guys, ask me questions. I want to make sure that you guys can use this time. You can open up. You can send me private questions as well. Totally fine. No need to be public if you don't want to be. If you want to jump on the video and unmute, totally game.
Hi, I'm Sabrina. I'm currently recruiting for IB, but I'm a sophomore, and they're asking me a lot of technical questions. But to be honest, I don't know all of them. So how do you, I guess, answer it in a good way? Like, oh, I don't know, but I would like to learn. Like, I don't want to be like, yeah, I don't know. Like,
Yeah.
Answer that.
Good. So first thing, if you're interviewing for IB as a sophomore, that's great. One of the issue with IB in sophomore is a lot of those internships don't really carry a lot of weight. If you can get it, awesome, right? But one recommendation to you is if you don't get it, which is totally fine, try to get the best brand you can get. As a freshman and a sophomore, your only goal should be to get the best brand on your resume because that brand gives you credibility. It may not be in the industry you want to get into ultimately, but that brand will give you that credibility to ultimately land a great interview for a junior internship and then hopefully an internship. That's just one thing. If you don't know the answer to a question, the best way is to look in the eye, smile and be like, hey, John, unfortunately, I don't know the answer to that question, but I'm happy to go back and research this and follow up with you if that's okay with you. And then you just put a period to that. Having conviction even in your answers that you don't know, but having a full stop or period at the end of your answer is how people are convinced that you're not lying, you're not bullshitting with them, right? So just look them in the eye, tell them, hey, unfortunately, I don't know the answer to that question, but I'm happy to go back, research it, and if you don't mind, I'll follow up with you later tonight. And move on, right? That's the best way. That's honest. People love honest people and people love who are willing to learn. And that's the whole thing. When you're interviewing for these jobs, they don't really want people who know it all, by the way. People who know it all and act as if they know everything and they're the smartest person, God's gift to earth, those are not the people that ultimately get the job. Because those people have a lot of ego. Those people are not willing to learn. Those people are not willing to be trained. And they're too rigid, right? And they're usually harder to mold into the environment they're getting into. But people who are willing to learn, they know their weaknesses, they know their flaws, those people are coachable. And these firms want to hire people that are coachable.
Thank you.
No worries. Other questions, guys? Izzy, you got a question?
Kind of. I'm thinking in terms of just cold applications sometimes and kind of how that works when you're, especially now it's online, you've worked on a resume, you've built it. I mean, by hopefully junior year, that's when a lot of people are vying for a lot of these internships, and maybe not hearing back and kind of how that cold application works versus like
Yeah.
sending an email and having a contact within a company. And like, I don't know,
Yeah.
I've heard like it's a big black hole of applications and you never hear back, or you do
Yeah.
hear
Yeah.
back and it's always no, or
Yeah.
stuff
Yeah.
like that. I feel like it's discouraging sometimes to a lot of students.
Yeah. Yeah. I think so. First thing I want you guys to understand is 99% of your applications are never going to be heard back, right? I'm in that situation. Look, I have, I know I have a good resume, good background today, right? I apply to jobs sometimes, right? Sometimes I see some cool opportunities, right, that I apply to because I think they're interesting. I never hear back. So first thing I want you to understand is rejection and not hearing back, that is the normal state. Okay. So don't get rejected by it. Always assume you're not supposed to hear back from this, right? And that's the same assumption I have with cold emails. When you send cold emails out, 99 will never come back. And I'm okay with that. I've already made that decision, for myself. So that's one thing. Now, the way these online applications work versus knowing someone, online applications are, like you mentioned, Izzy, they are a black box, right? There's this abyss, and there's thousands of applicants to go in. And look back at the numbers that I mentioned to you of Goldman Sachs only accepting 3%. Those 97 other percent out of 250,000 applications, right? That's a lot of applications. That's like over 200, whatever, I don't know the number, but 247,000, for example. That's a lot of people that never heard back, right? So one of the things I want you guys to understand is kind of like how those, online application slots are actually created and what are your chances of getting that. So I'll give you guys a quick example. Let's say you are, you're trying to get an internship at, let's say you're trying to get a full-time job at PwC. Let's take that, for example. And you didn't have a summer internship at PwC. Let's say you had a summer internship at Deloitte or some other consulting firm, okay? Now what happens is in that summer internship, let's say PwC had 10 slots in Los Angeles office, right? For that summer internship. They hired a bunch of people. You weren't one of them. You're working at some other place. Those 10 people come in, they join in late April, early May, for example. They work their butt off. Before the end of the internship, so around mid-July, PwC knows that out of these 10 kids who came and interned with us, 6 were great. So we're going to give these 6 kids an offer to come back. So they give those 6 kids an offer mid-July. And those 6 kids, let's assume, accepted. Now there are still 4 spots available. The other 4 kids, they tell them you're on hold. They don't reject them outright, but they put them on hold. Now for those 4 spots that are left, they basically run something called an accelerated interview process. Now the accelerated interview process is never advertised. They don't put it on any website. They don't put it on the career site. They don't put it anywhere. This is basically an invite-only process that they reach out internally to their friends, family, folks that they know, people who have networked with them. And they say, hey, if you're interested, apply. We're hiring for our next year's class. So what happens is everybody in that group at PwC reaches out to their friends, their buddies, or people that have networked with them and says, hey man, we're interviewing. So, now that you've networked with me for the last 6 months, I'm going to take your application and put it in that pile. So for those 4 spots, let's say they invite 30 invite-only candidates. Those invite-only candidates obviously were working at other firms, maybe boutique consulting firms, maybe they're working at different jobs, maybe they're working at Deloitte, maybe they're working at other firms, whatever. Those kids who are also interning somewhere else come in and they interview for those 4 spots. Of those 4 spots, of those 30 kids, 3 kids are given a spot out of the 4. So now 9 spots out of the 10 have been filled for next year's class, full-time class. Only 1 spot is remaining available. That 1 spot is the spot that ends up on pwc.com/careers. That's the spot, that's the job that's advertised on LinkedIn. That's the job that's advertised at USC, UCLA, Berkeley, Stanford, Harvard, all career centers around the United States. And it goes on monster.com and ZipRecruiter and everywhere else. So what happens is by the time you come to campus and you're like, oh, I'm so excited, PwC is coming to campus, you're aiming for that 1 spot, which is advertised to everybody. So the chance of, you're definitely going to be part of the black hole and the abyss, right? So your only countermeasure to that is you need to meet that wave before that wave, that spot even hits the public. which is only through networking. So now let's take a step back. Don't just aim for the 3 spots that are the accelerated interview process. You need to get that job at PwC, right, for that summer. Go even further back. When PwC was interviewing for those 10 summer internship spots, they came to campus sometime in like October, November of the year before. But guess what? Even before that, there was accelerated interview process for that. So if, let's just say, you are trying to get a junior internship next summer, you probably have networked and are already interviewed in August and September of this year, right, to get those summer internships. You basically want to hit the recruiting cycles before anything happens, and you'll never be able to time it. That's the issue. The only thing you can do is know that I need to get on people's radars as soon as I can. That's the only thing you can do. So unfortunately, most people realize this when they're juniors, so it's hard to kind of match that timeline, but that's okay. But if you are still a sophomore or freshman, awesome. You guys have a lot of time. Start networking yesterday. But if the boat has passed, if that ship has sailed, don't worry. You still have time. Get back in the networking game. Get yourself away from just simply applying. Now, you'll still have to apply online. Just because, you can't just apply purely through things. HR will make you apply online. Always apply online, but have zero expectations on the online.
Got it. That's so helpful. I think applying online, you make an assumption sometimes that you'll always hear back, but yeah, that definitely puts it in perspective.
My email inbox is full of automatic rejection emails from literally every firm. I kid you not. So I think just believe that this is not going to go anywhere and find another door to it.
I have a question. Hi, Sherjan. Thank you for your time. Thank you for taking out the time to talk to us. So I'm an incoming senior and an international student. And because of this whole pandemic situation, I decided to take a leave of absence.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm on track for like a junior internship as such, since I have the summer of 2021, but I'm graduating in December of 2021.
Okay.
And I'm hoping for a full-time job, at least like till when my visa permits in the United States. So how do you think I should approach networking with like someone in the company versus networking with the recruiter? Do you think I should do both? Like, what will help me get my foot in the door?
Yeah. So definitely, in my opinion, so thanks for the question, and I understand all the pains that you may have as an international student. I think it's a lot harder, but I get that. I think recruiters are important to connect with, but they are not the ones who make the decision. If I were you, I would, weight it so that 9 out of 10 people you reach out to are in the company, and 1 person you reach out to is a recruiter. The reason I say this is this: recruiters are just gatekeepers. They're not the decision makers. And one of the things I tell my students when they attend my workshops and stuff is it's much easier to roll a stone downhill than uphill. Think about what happens as a recruiter gets an application. When a recruiter gets an application, they don't get an application. They get the 1,000 applications that say USC folder of candidates, right? They're going to look at it. They're going to look at the resumes for 3 seconds each, and they're going to filter it out in terms of, okay, these 800 don't even qualify because bad resume, whatever. These 200 are potential candidates. They're going to take those 200. They're going to send it to the group. Some analyst, some junior, super junior person, analyst is going to get that 200-page book. That book of resumes is going to get divided into, let's say, 5 or 4 different analysts. Each one will get 50. Then they will review those resumes. Now they're reviewing resumes, let's say 10 seconds each. So those 200 resumes are now going to get, brought down to about, let's just say, 80 resumes. Okay, 120 will further get cut. Now, those analysts, not associates, not VPs, not directors, managing directors, no, those analysts will then pick up the phone and call 20 candidates each. Now, these analysts could be from all over the place. They may not like you because of XYZ reason, whatever. They may have a bad day. They could have a bad mood. Of those 80 resumes, those 4 analysts will bring those candidates down to 15 candidates. That's when those candidates, the 15 resumes will get passed forward to like an associate or a VP who's going to hold Zoom sessions with those 15 kids, right? Now, think about all the friction you're going through to get to not even a decision maker yet. You're just getting to a VP, right? And let's look at the other side of the situation. Other side of the situation is you reach out to an MD, a director, or a VP before, and they like your candidacy. They like who you are. They can easily pick up the phone and say, hey, let's put this person in our first round. you've skipped so much of the numbers game. So definitely get yourself in front of recruiters. That's totally fine. That's okay. But 99%, overweight onto, overemphasize on the people that are decision makers, MDs, VPs, directors, those folks.
Thank you so much for that. That was very
Alright.
helpful. I have another follow-up question, if
Yeah.
you don't mind. So I just wanted to understand how important is a cover letter, and are there any like major overarching tips that you would give? Like maybe not going to too much detail, but something that you should always have there.
Yeah, so the cover letter is important, not that important. Historically, it was used to be important more. Now it's not as relevant, but some firms will still ask you. They don't really ask you because they, they must need it. The reason they ask you is just part of their recruiting profile. A lot of these firms, like big accounting firms, consulting firms, banking firms, they've not innovated, in their recruiting processes. They're still, in the 80s and the 90s. When you go recruit for Facebook or Google, you're not going to be asked a cover letter. So it's just a transition of time. Unfortunately, we are in that moment where some of these firms that you want to work at are still asking for it. The cover letter, the thing is, okay, let's just say you do need it. Make it short, less than half a page, maximum, 3 to 4 paragraphs. The key thing in the cover letter that they're testing for, that they used to test for, but they still kind of do, is can you write simple English? That's what it is, right? Can you write simple English? Now, one of the issues is people think cover letters, oh, they're going to spend so much time on. Nobody reads a cover letter. When your resume, like, how I mentioned, you get the resume book, nobody reads what's in the cover letters, right? It's just one of those BS things that's just lingering on. But because you have to write it, you can't take it not seriously, because you never know. What if they'd read it, right? So what should you put on it? Obviously, you'll have your intro paragraph and a conclusion paragraph at the bottom, which is 2 lines each. What I want you to do on the second and third paragraph, the second paragraph is all about, why you want to be in accounting. So that's your story. Or you can have the second paragraph be your story. So the story is your most important, answer to your question, like telling you about yourself. Make the second paragraph about that. Make the third paragraph about why accounting. If you just focus on that, in each paragraph, those second and third paragraphs are 4 or 5 lines each. So in total, you have a 2-line intro paragraph, 4 to 5 line, tell me about yourself paragraph, 4 to 5 line why accounting paragraph, 2-line conclusion paragraph. So in total, you are under 15 lines, which is about half a page. That's all you need, right? Keep it at that, keep it short, keep it simple, and that's it. And simple English, by the way. Don't overcomplicate it. Just simple, regular English.
Thank you so much.
No worries.
Hi, I have a question. First off, thank you for your time for speaking to us. Can you talk about more how you got into investment banking and why you decided to leave?
Yeah. So I, wanted to get into investment banking for the wrong reasons. I thought it was cool because I interned at Accenture, and Accenture is a consulting firm, and they put you in like at a client. When I was at a client, our client was an investment bank. So I saw all these like guys wearing awesome suits and shit. I was like, oh man, I want to be like those cool kids. So that's the wrong reason to go in. But anyways, that kind of started my drive. How I got in was when I graduated from, University of Toronto with low GPA and all that stuff, I couldn't really get in because of the recession, low GPA, non-target, all those things. So my only hope was, let's do a second degree so I can network and then give it a second chance. And when you have second chances, you go all in. So I got to UCLA in their Anderson Business School, 1-year master's program in finance, financial engineering. Every day I networked. So when I networked, that gave me the option to learn. So I basically learned from all these folks who were in investment banking, who had been there at Goldman's of the world, Morgan's of the world, and got them to train me and teach me how to, take those interviews. And that's why like all the stuff that I've learned there, I teach in my courses. That led me to then get interviews at these firms, right? Now, I didn't get interviews for the summer internship, like I told you. So my summer internship was a very weak internship. It wasn't even a real firm. So then I was kind of stuck. I was like, man, I have only 3 or 4 months left. How am I going to, bridge this gap? Otherwise, all this hundreds of thousands of dollars spent at this degree is going to be a waste. So I took my candidacy and I went to Toronto, back to Toronto. And for 1 week, I just recruited at Canadian banks. Why? Because I knew that my brand coming from UCLA would be a lot stronger in Toronto compared to what it would be in LA, competing with guys at USC, folks at Stanford, folks at Berkeley, Harvard, all those places. So knowing that I was better prepared, better resume, all that stuff in Toronto compared to my competition in Toronto, I got my first offer at Bank of Montreal, which is an investment bank in Canada. But I was super grateful, not satisfied. So then I took that offer, brought it back to LA, and reached out to all the banks in Canada in LA, say, hey, look, I have an offer. I have an offer from a competing bank or a competitor bank of yours. That's when they got serious and gave me an interview. When they gave me an interview, I then did the interview on the spot, and they gave me an offer on the spot, and I signed it. So that's how I got into investment banking the first time. Then after 5-6 months, I was again grateful but not satisfied. I wanted to work at the top investment bank at Morgan Stanley. So then I again went back to my alumni directory, reached out to everybody I could find at Morgan Stanley who was senior, and started networking with them, telling them my story and all that. That's how I got my shot. And the fun story about that is, like, when I got that shot, I remember I was at Houlihan still. I interviewed with this person on the East Coast who said they're not hiring on the East Coast, but they may be hiring in the West Coast in the tech investment banking group. You know, would you want to apply? And for me, the Morgan Stanley Tech Menlo Park group was my dream job. I was like, man, I really want to work here, because this is like, you know, that group only hires kids from Stanford, Berkeley, Harvard, and Wharton, right? That's kind of like they're known for. But I was like, you know, if I get a shot, I'm going to go all in on it. So I got a shot. I did a first round interview with them. I did okay. It wasn't great, but it was good enough. But then next week, I had to go to New York for training with my current firm, with Houlihan, right? So I reached out to Morgan Stanley. I said, hey guys, like I'm going to be in training in New York for 2 weeks. If a final round comes up, I won't be able to fly from New York. But Morgan Stanley didn't accommodate that. They're like, hey, look, we'll let you know if we're even inviting you to final round. Anyways, I went to New York. I was training with Houlihan Lokey. And then on Tuesday or Monday of the next week, the second week of training, I got a call from Morgan Stanley in Menlo Park saying, hey, you have an invite to final round. Can you make it? Now, in that moment, this was my dream job. In one of those situations when it is everything you ever wanted, you risk it all. So I risked it all. I said, yes, I'll be there. So on Thursday morning, I flew from New York to San Francisco, didn't tell anybody at Houlihan. Imagine you're training at Deloitte, for 2-3 weeks, and you skip training to go interview at PwC, right? That's basically what it is. But I did that, went to interview for 5, 6, 7, whatever hours it was in San Francisco, flew back to New York. Next day was Friday, got up. I was in massive shit with HR, massive shit with my bosses and all those people, because that's not the right thing to do. But they didn't know what I did. I just told them that I was sick, couldn't wake up, all those things. The weekend went by. On Monday, Morgan Stanley called me and said, the job is yours. So that's kind of how I, broke into Morgan Stanley. Now, why I left Morgan Stanley, totally different reasons. Most people, when they join these industries, banking, consulting, even accounting, people don't do it more than 2 to 3 years. Most of my analysts are not, like analysts who are analysts with me in investment banking, are not analysts anymore, right? So analysts will do it for 2 years. They'll learn a bunch of stuff. Then they'll leave for private equity. They'll leave for startups. They'll leave for business school, other things, because the job is very, very hard. It's very, very challenging. And you don't get a lot of personal time. It takes a toll on your health, physical and mental. But I left similarly like other folks, and then I joined Google for their investment arm, right? And then most people don't go back to banking, but I went back as a senior associate, and then became a VP at Morgan Stanley. Now, what's the benefit of that? It helped me skip a bunch of ranks, but also when you're more senior, you have a lot more balance in your personal life and professional life. Obviously, you're making a little bit more money, and you can balance things a bit more. So that's kind of why I left. And personally, I think banking is great. I think if you have an option to do banking and consulting and accounting, all three of them, I think they're great training grounds. But make sure you have this in your mindset that this is going to be a 2-year struggle. So remove your personal life from your mind and stuff. Don't have any expectations like that, even though you can balance it. But make sure you're in it for the boot camp to learn as much as you can, get trained as well as you can. Take it from there. And if you want to stay, they'll let you stay. But most people just leave and do other things.
Awesome. Thank you.
With that question, like, that's what I'm worried about. I know it's like long hours. It's really hard. But I know you learned so much in like such a short time. Like even in like being a summer analyst, you learn so quickly. Yeah. So I guess, how do you push through it? Because I know like maybe your mental health may be affected, or like you're not sleeping, you don't see your family as much. So like, you push through that and remind yourself like what you're in it for.
Yeah. So one of the videos, you guys should have a YouTube channel, and I did a video on this a couple of weeks ago, which was how to balance personal and professional life. But one of the things I think I'll say on this is, first thing I think what you need to understand is, it's not the end of the world that this job is not the most important thing that happens in your life. So at some point, you need to realize what's happening. You need to see the amount of work you have, and you need to understand your own ability and capacity, and put your hand up when you can't do it, right? So if things get really tough, if you're burning out, it's taking a toll on your physical health, mental health, you need to have a conversation with your boss and say, hey, look, I don't think I can take more. Now, if you have a strong trust with them where they know you're not lying, you're not bullshitting with them, you're not like trying to fake it just to get a day off. They know that you're actually an honest person because you go 100 miles an hour when when you're required, but then at some points you're human too. That level of bond and trust between you and your manager and your associate or VP is very, very important. That's number one. Number two, on the balancing of personal life, look, if you just look at the job as this one whole entity that takes over your entire life for the next 2 years, then you're never going to be able to balance. You need to kind of compartmentalize the job a little bit. So for example, let's start with like waking up early as you can, if you can, and getting a little bit of a workout in. Simple thing. If it means a 5-minute walk outside your apartment, awesome, right? If it means you can get a 30-minute run, even better, right? Get a workout in before your job starts. That is going to help you get the good energy, the good vibes, and give you a healthy start to the day. Next thing, when you get started and you do the job and stuff, one of the things people do wrong is they start eating unhealthy. Don't do that. Don't make that mistake. I made that mistake in my first year at Morgan Stanley. I started eating a tub of Haagen-Dazs on a nightly basis, right? Because I love Haagen-Dazs. And guess what? I had gained like 18, 20 pounds. The point is, because stress gets to you, you need to be aware of that and make sure you make healthier choices. Then in terms of like significant others, let's say you have a girlfriend or a boyfriend or someone like that, every week, every day, you won't be able to take out time with them. It's just part of the game. But that doesn't mean you can never take out time for them. So what you need to do is actually put it on calendar where you take out 90 minutes on a Tuesday, 90 minutes on a Thursday, maybe 90 minutes on a Sunday, where you go and make sure you have dinner or lunch or something with your significant other, so you can at least have that micro moment with them, right? These little things, once you make sure you kind of isolate and compartmentalize work separate from thing and put it on calendar, non-negotiable, right? Unless something super critical comes up, but try your best to make this non-negotiable. Similarly, Friday nights. My goal on Friday nights was always like, hey, look, Friday night, the world goes and parties, the world goes, has fun, the world goes out and watches movies and spends time in the world. Now, if you're working hard on a Friday night and the world is out there, it's going to make you depressed quicker than anything else. So for me, Friday nights, no matter how much work you have, there's no meeting on a Saturday, right? So Friday nights, build a relationship with your boss or manager and say, hey, look, man, or look, Jenny, it's 6 p.m. Give me my Friday night, right? And build that relationship. Hey, give me my Friday night. I'm going to be in the office tomorrow at 10 a.m. Saturday, but just give me my Friday night so I can merge with the world and go have fun with them when the world is having fun. So spend that Friday night with your team, with your folks, with whoever you want to do. Go party, go eat, go drink, whatever you need to do. But show that credibility where you wake up on a Saturday and you're back in the office at 10 a.m. or 1 p.m. or whenever they want you to be in the office. One last thing to that is when you do become an associate, one day you guys will become associates and VPs. Set that example for your juniors. So when I was at Hong Kong and Morgan Stanley, when I was an associate and VP, I made sure that my analysts never worked Friday nights. I told them, you guys finish work at 2 p.m. on a Tuesday, we'll go drinking 2 p.m. on a Tuesday, right? So I don't need you guys to be in the office. So set the example for your juniors. It's going to make them work harder when work needs to be done. And it's going to make them live a happy life. Now, many people disagree with that strategy because it's not the culture of how these firms work, but I disagree with it. I think you need to let people be happy and free when there's no work. I don't want showtime and FaceTime all the time. Last piece is family and friends that are not there. You're here, you're there, and wherever you get to in life, even like at USC, is because of your family, your friends, and people that have gotten you there. Nobody gets to places alone. I didn't get here alone. So there's a support network. There's 100 people that are rooting for you and love you and want you. Every Saturday, what I would do is I would have this like 2-hour period allocated in the morning, so like 10 a.m. to noon, where I would pick up my phone and I would go through a list of people and I would call them every weekend. Parents, some cousins, friends of friends, people from different parts of the world, and not scheduled calls. These are not calls that are like, hey man, can we chat Saturday? No, just pick up the phone, dial the number, what's going on? Connect with them. Make sure you stay connected with people, your support network, every week, just for an hour or two, maybe even an hour. Start with an hour. Once you have these slots on your calendar, that's where balance will come from, right? These slots will make sure that these are non-negotiable slots. These are slots that out of your, I don't know, how many hours in a week, 24 times 7, 168 hours, right? Out of these 168 hours, you're basically taking maybe 15, right? 10% of the time to allocate towards your mental, physical health, and staying sane in a very, very tough environment. Any other questions, team?
I have a question.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on like strategy-based roles in like investment banking companies or like management consulting companies? Are they like easier to break into?
So strategy, I don't think strategy roles or any role is easy or hard, right? I think definitely less people apply to strategy roles than investment banking or pure management consulting roles, but that doesn't mean they're going to be easy. Ultimately, getting hired, getting a job is a people business. You need to convince the person on the other side to hire you. I don't think I don't think you should have that mindset about what's hard, what's not. I think if you're really interested in something, definitely apply to the strategy role and apply to the investment banking role, right? If you are interested. The best way to figure out if you want to do that, though, is you should network so that you can learn from people who've done it. And one of the things I tell people is like when you're junior or when you're in college, this is the best time for you to explore, right? So go explore, meet people, ask them questions why they love their job, why they don't. And that's going to help you decide, A, if you want to do that strategy role versus investment banking or vice versa. And maybe you do like the strategy role and maybe you have a better relationship with the people that are there and you take that. But that's kind of like my best answer for that.
If you have any experience with it, are there any major skill sets that people look for when you like want to go into strategy?
I think strategy is one of those things. I haven't done strategy myself, but I've met folks in it, and at a high level understanding, I'll say this: Google has a strategy arm. Every firm has strategy arms and stuff. Strategy arms are firms, are groups in companies that are more aligned to obviously figuring out what thinking deeply and thoroughly about the direction of the company, right? Or direction of projects even. So the people that they're looking for are people that are very analytical, love researching, love boiling the ocean, love thinking at a problem from multiple different angles, are great at communication because you're working with a lot of teams, right? So they bring some analytical skills, but a lot of research skills, a lot of thinking skills. They're not people that jump to conclusions quickly, right? So there's a lot of that stuff. Ultimately, if you think about it, it's just people that are smart people who love thinking deeply. So strategy is more related to when you think about coming from a consulting background. A lot of people that are working at like Google strategy arm or Facebook strategy arm, they come from the world of consulting. The consultants are doing that all the time. A consultant's job is like, hey, Apple's our client, and Apple wants to see if they want to open up a new store in Singapore. Should they or should they not? And if they should, what should be their game plan? So then someone from McKinsey is going to go do customer service, research, analysis, and figure out very thoughtfully about why this makes sense or doesn't make sense. And if it does make sense, here are some avenues for them to do. So I think clear, thoughtful thinking with a layer of communication and with a layer of like working, ability to work with others in a style that shows that this person thinks deeply about things. And that's, I think, would be the high level skills. I don't think there's a certain set of analysis you need to know or certain set of like Excel modeling you need to know to be a better strategist.
Got it. Thank you.
So guys, I have a couple more minutes left. I just want to say one thing. So next month is my 10-year anniversary of doing these, not these, but like my courses. So my main thing that I teach is my workshop, which is called Breaking Through. And it's a course that students take, 20,000 students have taken it. So that course I'm teaching live next month. It's my 10-year anniversary. So Izzy, I'll share some links and stuff with you guys that you guys can take and take advantage of it. I want to get as many people to take advantage of that. So I'm teaching that workshop. It's a 5 to 6 hour long event next month on a Saturday. But other than that, you can find me on LinkedIn. You can find me online. I'm Sherjan, so sherjan.com. But I'll send those links to Izzy, and then she can transfer to you guys and get you guys involved. But having said that, I appreciate you guys joining. As they say, fight on, and then I'll see you guys when I see you guys. Cool.
Yeah, sounds good. I will definitely share all that if it becomes available. Thank you so much again, Sherjan, for the time. I know all the conversations we had, it was helpful for me, and I'm sure it was helpful for everybody too.
Cool, guys. Good luck, and stay positive and test negative.
That's a good one.
Take care.
Sounds good. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you guys.